welcome to the Nash Attack. Thank you so much, everybody, for checking out the most recent episode, the relaunch, where we talked about this crazy layoff situation and this nutty job market that's happening right now that's really tough to get back into. That's what I'm telling myself to get by. And we talked about Summer House Martha's Vineyard, a little bit of Summer House OG, but the feedback I've received has been so nice, and I appreciate how many of you have reached out to me. People have hit up my new nashattack.com/tips, where you can do this thing called buy me a cup of coffee or whatever. I'm trying to monetize. I gotta make a little bit of money, y'all. Give me a break. But actually, while we're on that subject, I have a quick thing to talk about around that in just 1 second. I just want to let people know that this episode is going to be Vanderpump Rules, Scandoval, the full entire episode. I thought I was going to be able to talk about something else and do like my AI or the writer strike stuff, but I can't get into it. I've got to focus all of my energy on Scandoval because the episode dropped. It was crazier than I imagined it was going to be, everything coming out. And so if you are not a Vanderpump Rules fan, you may not care about this, but I mean, this news has taken the nation by storm. You've probably heard about it, even if you don't watch the show, that something is going on here. So I'm going to be talking about that one in this episode, and it's going to be some deep cuts really for Vanderpump Rules fans. So if you watch it, you're going to love it. If you don't, you might not. But that's okay, because we got plenty of other stuff to talk about next week. You know, I'm going to be here Tuesdays and Fridays. And, you know, if you're going to dip out, which was a huge thing on Vanderpump Rules this season, dipping out. If you're going to dip out on me right now, let me just tell you something real quick. I've added a new thing to the website. So along with my www.buymeacoffee.com/the Nash Attack or the nashattack.com tips, like the coffee thing, the app that I'm running for my monetization, I've added some extras, some fun things that you can, you know, add to the show if you would like, if you feel so inclined. And a couple of the things I've added so far, I'm going to be adding more things over the weekend, but right now, and this is hey, I think it's a pretty good price, especially if you have something that you're trying to advertise. Like, this would be a really clever way to do it. And I will put ads on there if you do want me to do one. You can pay for essentially a segment on the podcast where I talk about any episode of a TV show that you want. You can go and you can purchase that right now. I'll drop what I'm doing. I have a list of shows and a list of stuff that I'm going to talk about and I'm going to watch that's been recommended to me, but you will make it right to the very top of the list. And then you can pay a little bit higher fee if you are certain there's a show that, well, you don't have to be certain that I'm going to love it. It may be a show you're certain I'm going to hate, and you just want to spend some money on this. Again, I feel like I have people who listen to this who maybe don't have my best interest at heart. That's probably not true. But hey, whatever. You can spend some money and have me watch an entire season of a show. So visit my website. There's like a little banner on the nashattack.com that's like, thank you for your support. Or if you click the little hamburger menu on the left-hand side and click down, it says, thank you for your support. You can click there and click into the buy me a coffee thing, and I will watch an episode or a season. I'm going to also read a book on there for a certain price. I'll listen to a podcast episode for a certain price, listen to your song for a certain price, play your song on my podcast for a certain price, make it my theme song. So those are just some of the extras that I'm adding so I can hopefully monetize this bad boy and keep it going. But just wanted to let you guys know that. So let's do this. Let's get into Vanderpump Rules, Scandoval, Season 10, everything about it. So for those of you who don't know, if you've been living under a rock, basically, real quick, high-level scenario, Scandoval is that Tom Sandoval, who has been dating this fabulous lady named Ariana on a show called Vanderpump Rules, he cheated on her with this girl named Raquel, who was engaged to another guy on the show, James, last year, and they broke off their engagement. And it turns out they've been carrying on this months-long affair. And we've just been getting trickle truth this whole time. Little bits of information have been coming out, and it's been piecing together. And we found all of this out because his phone fell out on stage at a show because he has a cover band. Yeah. So he has a cover band, and he keeps his phone on him. Bizarre. But this is because he only has to play at a B plus anyway. That's something that Tom Sandoval said, that most artists out there, most performers, they just hope to hit a B plus with most of their performances. I thought that was the craziest, dumbest, just he's just an idiot. It was just a dumb statement to begin with, but that had already I'm pretty sure Scandoval had already come out, so I was extra annoyed with that statement. But his phone fell out while he was performing. Ariana picked up the phone and saw video of, I believe, dirty FaceTimes between Raquel and Tom Sandoval. Obviously it had to be something for it to trigger a breakup and the pop culture event of the century. Something was going down on those FaceTimes. And let me just say, I listened to the Howie Mandel thing, the Howie podcast. Andy Cohen, please do not be mad at me, because Andy Cohen has been so pissed that Tom did his first interview with Howie Mandel and not Bravo. He has asked every single person about it that's come on Watch What Happens Live, and he's just livid. You can tell he's so upset about it. And I'm sorry, Andy. I watched it, and I know a lot of people were like, well, I'm not watching it because I'm not giving that views. I'm not going to give them money. And I don't make, you see how hard it is for me to make money from this. I don't think that they were going to make a whole ton of money from me tuning in that day. And this is Howie Mandel. He's got Bobby's World money. I think he's fine. America's Got Talent, deal or no deal. And all of these things, I bet you're wondering, like, yeah, I didn't know he was a huge Vanderpump Rules fan. I didn't know Howie Mandel liked reality TV like that to where he would interview this guy. He doesn't. He has no clue. So it was the most awkward interview in the world. And so for those of us who were watching it live, there was the ability to comment, and those comments were a hoot. People were just lighting Howie up. They were lighting Tom up. It was so funny. So, please don't be mad at me for listening to it. All that interview did was prove what an unreliable narrator Tom is, and the weird revisionist history that he's living. And he told so many different stories on that versus what he told on the episode. I think he told the different story on the episode about how the actual first night went down. So sometimes he says it happens the night that they went to the Mondrian for guys' night. That was the first time that he hooked up with Raquel. And then the next time he says, oh, it happened the next day whenever we were at the Abbey dancing, and then we kissed, and then we hooked up. And now I'm like, see, already, like, what? We're never going to know what really happened because this man just can't help but lie. He just lies to be lying. And because it turns out, we find out that he's been cheating on Ariana for not just 7 months, for years. He cheated on her, apparently. The Miami girl thing, which for longtime VPR fans, long story, very old lore, that he hooked up with this girl and cheated on Ariana at the beginning of their relationship, and Kristen was hell bent on making sure that she knew that information because their breakup was so messy, and he got with Ariana while he was still with Kristen. They wanted to prove it, and it finally came out that was true after just 9 or 10 years of lying about that. Oh, and then he says, yeah, he hooked up with one other person, but the timeline on that is sketchy. It's when he's talking to Sheena, and she asks, like, well, how long have things been bad? And he says 4 to 5 years. So I don't know if that means that he cheated at that point. So has it been 4 or 5 years since he cheated? I would love to know the details of that, but I hope that that's coming in the reunion. He says he was in therapy. I'm like, well, were you telling the therapist the damn truth? Because I'm pretty sure a therapist would have pushed you to not torture this woman for this long. And I will admit, I openly admit that whenever this first came out, the very first few moments that this came out, one of my initial reactions was like, well, I mean, it wasn't really a good, clean start how Ariana and Tom got together. You lose him how you got him. But then I took a second to reflect and continue forming my thoughts on it, because this was a fluid situation. And I realized it's not the same situation at all. There's so much nuance to this. This is a years long relationship. And I know the Kristen one was too, but like where I thought that they had both grown together to where Tom wouldn't do something like this. I think that's why I was so shocked that this happened. Like, oh yeah, I'll lose him how you got him. But then really, Tom, really? After this girl stood by your side? And I feel bad for Ariana because she's had to defend him against some really dumb stuff. He's said some really idiotic stuff. He's made some really stupid investments. And she's been right by his side while he's diddling her friends. It's so upsetting. And if you know anybody, and I have never really been like cheated on by somebody, like a years long relationship. I've never had something like that happen, but I've had friends who've gone through that, and it affects people on a core level whenever you betray someone like that, to where I feel lucky that those people have even chosen to like trust me as a friend at this point. Because who can you trust? You lay with someone and tell them your deepest secrets. And Ariana was going to make a bunch of changes for this man. She didn't want children and was willing to freeze eggs and do embryos and all of these things because that's something that he potentially wanted. And then for him to betray her like that, it's just awful. It's like, if I'm willing to change my life for somebody and then this is how they do me, why even bother? Like, I feel so bad for her. I genuinely feel bad for her. And I feel bad that I thought that way initially. Like, well, you lose money, you got it. Well, no, it was this is 10 years later. 10 different horrible haircuts that she supported him through, And he does her like this. It's messed up. I'm not okay with it. And then on the show, like him crying to everybody, I don't care. Call Ghostbusters, call your mom, call anybody else. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. Like, shove it with the tears. I found that so annoying, him crying to everybody. And whenever he tells Lisa, I want to have a conversation with her where she isn't angry. And from what I hear, that is not the reunion. I hear the reunion is quite spicy and she gets in that ass, and I am ready to hear it and see it because you deserve it, both barrels. And Ariana's a smart girl. She is smart and she is funny. She takes comedy very seriously. I mean, that's from one of her cringier moments, but that girl's actually legitimately very funny, and I know she's gonna just give it to him. It's gonna be so good. I am so looking forward to this reunion, both parts, or 3 parts. It's a 3-part reunion, and then Peacock's giving us these like giant episodes the next day, and then we're getting individual interviews with Raquel, Tom, and Ariana. I mean, they knew that I was suffering. I feel like Bravo TV knew that I needed something to get me through the next couple of weeks, and they delivered. So I'm really excited about that. Now, let's just like go back to the beginning of the season and go back to everything. Pre-Scandoval, living in a world where we didn't know that any of this happened. I wasn't really a fan of Sandoval when this whole thing started. He lost me last season. I actually went back and listened to my podcast where I was talking about last season of Vanderpump Rules. And he had lost me last year because he was yelling and screaming at everybody. He was just, the way that he talked to Katie made me so mad. And he would basically put Schwartz in these situations where it's like, well, it's either Katie or me, which is so creepy. Like, why are you doing that to your friend? Like, that's so manipulative and weird. And Schwartz is not some innocent bystander in this either. Like, I am very upset with him, and I think he's already getting his comeuppance right now, because I've always thought that 100% always thought that Schwartz was in love with Ariana, had a thing for Ariana. He's always secretly like had a thing. I think Katie even said that she thought that he liked Ariana like back in their wedding season. And I'm pretty sure that he is more upset that Ariana's told him, we're not friends anymore. I'm not your friend, than he is about his divorce. I'm not even kidding you. He loved her. You should have had your friend step up to the plate. You should have been a better friend to Ariana. And now she's gone. And I bet he is upset because now he's stuck with Sandoval, who just bullies him and steamrolls him. You really should watch the last season. At least watch. There's an episode with like Ariana's birthday, and then the one before that, Sandoval gets in this massive fight with Katie, telling her how much money he's brought into their household and that Schwartz should be so grateful that he branded their friendship because now because of that he's bringing X amount of dollars into their household, and just all this just wild shit. Like, I thought that you were really friends, and that's what Schwartz even says. Like, no, it's not a brand, it's a friendship. And on Howie, like the Howie interview, which still the most bizarre thing ever. One more thing about that. I will never listen to that podcast again just because of how crazy Howie Mandel talks to his daughter. I don't know, it's like triggering to listen to him. Just like anything she said, he just shot down. Like, it was just so stupid, and why are you talking, and just know this. And it was so uncomfortable. What a disaster that interview was. But anyway, the only reason why I'm mentioning it again is because Tom, he made a point to be like, well, the reason why I didn't break up with Ariana was because, we had built our relationship to be a brand. It was a brand. It's like, people are not brands. Friendships are not brands. Like, these are people with feelings and emotions. And if this is how you're going through life, like, this is why you are where you are, which is couch hopping and stalking your ex. Because I know they both own that house, but it's messed up that he stays in that house with her and forces her to be around him. Like, I know that they don't actually have to be around each other. They have a go-between or something, but he's messed up his money so bad he can't move out. I absolutely hate that. I think that is so obnoxious, so annoying. Leave that woman alone. Leave those dogs alone. Leave her pets alone. Leave everybody alone and get out of that house. Go stay with Raquel. Seriously, how crazy is that you can't even go stay with Raquel or, frankly, Schwartz, who I get why Ariana is not friends with him. He was teeing up all these conversations the entire season. Well, how are things going with Ariana? Whenever he already knew for a fact that Sandoval had slept with someone else. So he's teeing up these conversations where he can say, oh, well, she's not being nice to me, and oh, well, I know that was a red flag in my relationship where I'm now divorced, like trying to tee up this breakup for him and paint her in this awful light. Like, I get it. Screw that. Like, that is not a friend. I'm gonna put this out here because I don't work for Lisa Vanderpump. I think she's playing both sides, and it's not cool at all. She's always been deeply, deeply toxically misogynistic. She will place a man above a woman at any point. Let's talk about Tom. Why in the world would you open a restaurant with that guy? I think Tom Schwartz worked for her for maybe one day, but she still foot the bill. And, oh, I'm going to build this brand around these girls who've been working for me for years. They're boyfriends. I can't even with her. And the fact that she even let Sandoval in the house, I think it would have been better if she had talked to him at the door while he's standing out in the rain. But she's supporting him, I guess. And I don't get it. Like, how do you have Ariana come over to your house and, you're going to get to the other side of this and it's going to be hard and, oh, you can stay here, but then have him over at the same time and you're not a horrible person. And maybe by the reunion something happens, but at this point, I am genuinely like, Lisa, you've got to let these dudes go. I get it. You went into business with them. Don't know why, but it's time to go ahead and write them on out of it and move on with your life. Get your money into that sandwich shop and get on the right side of history for once, because I am over it. I'm over her supporting these dudes. But I want to go back to something I was saying earlier. Like, in a world where this had never happened and we were just watching the season of Vanderpump Rules as it had come out. No, I wouldn't have loved Sandoval. But at the beginning, we kind of liked Raquel, and I thought that she was being made into this hero character. I have been side-eyeing her, though. She was just a little too hungry for the camera. And I'm like, you're not really living your real life. You're so focused and invested on this. Like, there was something that was lacking authenticity from her from the jump this season. I was like, you're playing up the arc. And there were points where she couldn't even really keep it up. Like whenever she was going on the date with Peter. And then I think she thought she was going to do the role of like, I'm living the single girl life and it's going to be so cute. And then she has the breakdown crying whenever she's at dinner with him, which is a mess. And now they're saying we don't know the real timeline of Scandoval. So there's a chance that she could have already been cheating. And like, she's upset that she has to pretend to be out with this guy because her real love, I'm not going to say love, her real friend, sister, cousin, no, her real whatever she's hooking up with, like she doesn't want to have to betray him by going on this date with Peter, but whatever, she'd already like made out with him a bunch. And I think that's a thing that Tom doesn't care about and frankly probably likes a little bit. But again, pretending that none of this ever happened, Scandoval didn't happen, we didn't know, I would not have really been on Raquel's side. I was not into the Raquel and Schwartz thing. I thought that was shady. It was mean. And she was doing it only to be mean-spirited towards Katie. And I just did not enjoy that. Whenever somebody's going through something as hard and as terrible as a divorce. Well, Raquel had just broken up with her fiance. So I'm thinking, oh, we're going to get some girl power and rally around each other. She's trying to hook up with Schwartz. And so I get why Katie was mad at Sheena. I get why all of that was bad. So I don't think that the big hero story was going to be there for Raquel. I did feel bad for her on the girls trip, the galaxy light thing. I thought, okay, well that sucks. I mean, she's whoever she is and she likes what she likes, and I hate that they're making fun of her for that. And I did feel like she was being bullied in that moment. I can say that. I totally feel like they were not being nice to her. I feel like there were moments that Lala was just being absolutely out of control, rude to her, and they all were. And Christina Kelly, they were talking about her behind her back. Like, I get it. All of that was sad and very upsetting, and nobody wants to see somebody be bullied. Yeah, I didn't love that. And yeah, I was feeling for Raquel, but then I thought it was weird when she showed up to guys' night. And I thought it was weird because of the Schwartz element, which I did not love. And I thought it was weird because I'm like, can you please get off of James Kennedy's neck for 2 seconds? I'm a James Kennedy, like, fan on occasions. He's fun and funny when he is, and then when he isn't, it's really bad to where I can't defend him, and you're on your own, dude. And even in the last episode, everyone thought his phone call to Raquel was so funny. I mean, it's like, it's funny until it wasn't, until you told her that she's stupid, or you said she's not that bright, or something like that. Like, he just always goes too far. So I'm like, I'm kind of mixed on how I feel about James Kennedy. But I did find it obnoxious that he couldn't go to guys' night and not have his ex-fiance show up. I mean, that's a huge bummer. I mean, that's a bummer for so many reasons. Like, one, he don't want to be around that girl. And then now he's got to tell his new girlfriend. And I don't know how to feel about Allie and James. Maybe at the reunion, I'll have more feelings about it. But again, like, in a world where Scandoval didn't happen, yeah, I wouldn't have been rooting for Raquel. I also feel like if Scandoval didn't come out, the audience, we're not dumb. I think we would have been suspicious of something, because I came into the season, I was not suspicious that Sandoval and Raquel were together, but I have been waiting for Sandoval and Ariana to break up forever. They have been a mismatched couple for years now, and last season was definitely, it seemed like the tipping point. She seemed less enthused to have to back up his bullshit, particularly around the bar, particularly around how he was behaving towards Katie. Ariana was just getting more and more annoyed with it, and their relationship, it felt more and more flat, where I was waiting for the breakup. And in the original trailer, it was said like, oh, that do you have an open relationship? Like before we knew anything, like, oh, do you guys have an open relationship? Where I thought maybe that was going to be the thing. But Ariana comes out immediately before the first episode even comes out and is like, that's false. That's not true. None of that is really true. And at that point I was very annoyed, like, girl, hey, the show hasn't come on yet, like let's let it air and air out so we can see. But I thought that was really interesting, and that she felt the need to speak out about that, because otherwise I thought, I'm just gonna say it, Ariana's last season, because what was she really bringing to the table other than being like Tom's cheerleader on the side? And then I also thought this show cannot be good for her mental health with the amount of loss that she's gone through. I mean, that's horrible how many bad things happened to her. I'm a person who lost my dog and went into such a deep depression. Like, I had to get into therapy and go on meds. Like, I get how hard it is to lose your dog. And then she lost her dearly beloved grandma on top of that. I just didn't think like, well, what we can't really film that. That's not, I didn't want to see that. That's so sad. And then now knowing everything that happens, that makes all that stuff, I mean, it's sad and horrible, but it's even so much more sad and horrible knowing that she didn't have anybody really to rely on because her spouse was a freaking loser bum. But if Scandoval didn't happen, I didn't honestly know, like, what are they going to do? Because there was a point where I thought, they will move on with this show with just the Toms and leave Ariana behind. And Tom Sandoval would have done it too. I will stand by that he 1,000,000% would have gone on and be like, well, I mean, she wants to film about Tom, and the sandwich shop isn't Lisa's, so sorry, you're just not in it. Like, I know that he would have done that. So it's interesting that everything is turned the way that it has. And as shitty as the situation is, it's fabulous to see Ariana coming out on top. This guy and this girl actually did do this to this poor woman. I mean, I don't know. I think we would have been suspicious of something though, because like I said, I was about their relationship. But if they had left in all of that footage and continued all that stuff with Lala saying that, people would have questioned it. I feel like I would have questioned it. I want to believe that I would have been one of the people like, I don't know. But I probably would have thought that it was more, oh, this is an open relationship, but we're just not talking about it because people live all kinds of lifestyles. And I gotta say, I think that Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras, that right there is just a cover and a front for bad behavior. I have a feeling that band, they are just running around town acting a plumb fool. He clearly was using his tour and all of the occasions that he was out as chances to meet up with Raquel. Eventually we would have noticed. I know that Reddit would have noticed. Reddit, y'all have uncovered too many things and have noticed too many little weird things that have just been sitting out on counters that no normal person should have ever recognized in the background. I know that we would have figured it out, or at least had been a little bit more suspicious. And at the beginning of the season, I feel like an idiot. There was 2 seconds where I was like, well, if Tom wants to do that and be creative and spend his money on that, that's cool. That's fine. That's not cool. It's not cool. You don't do that. Like, you don't go and form a band whenever your girlfriend's having the toughest time in her life. Like, I don't think that's whenever you go on tour. And it's like, sorry that pet loss and the loss of her grandma wasn't sexy enough for you, Sandoval. Like, I'm so furious. Like I've said, like, just knowing people who've gone through this and how bad this hurts people, like, I don't know what he can do to get in our good graces. Now, do I 100% want him back next season? Yes. I need Tom Sandoval back, and I need him to answer for this. Do I need Raquel back? I'm mixed on that. I don't really know. I'm kind of like, I think you need to go. Maybe we'll get some clarity from you in a couple years, but wherever she is right now is probably for the best. And I mean, who's going to film with her? What are we going to do with her? What else do I need from her? There's something so bizarre and like in her talking head in the latest episode, in the Scandoval episode, she's just so giddy about it and like he I just I've never had sex like this before. Like it's so cute and funny, and she's not apologetic or empathetic about it at all. I need a break from her, and I'll watch the reunion because she needs to answer for some stuff, and I'll watch her little interview, but anything beyond that, I'm done. If she goes on Howie, I'm not listening. Like, you got one listen out of me, Howie Mandel, and that's it. I think she's better off just disappearing for a little bit, taking a breather. I will say I love the amount of podcast enablement that this scandal has made. I would love to know, and I hope they address it at the reunion, or I hope that Ariana addresses it on one of her many friends' podcasts about this. I wonder how she feels about like Sheena and everybody dining out on her pain, basically. And Jax and Brittany, now they're coming back and getting to sit around and talk about the episodes. And Kristen Doty, she gets to come back from the grave and back into the mix. And a lot of my friends, they love Kristen Doty. They have forgiven her. I am not there. I didn't really need her redemption arc or her scene. It wasn't as great as they had built it up to be. But I know that they only released that trailer like that where they showed the Kristen bit because the other one had leaked. Because it wasn't a big enough thing. They had to add some other little like morsel that made their official trailer better than the other one. Because I won't even lie, that original trailer that came out, there was some other stuff in it that was just like really good. And that was a crazy day. There's just been so many crazy days. Like every few days there's something new that comes out. A trailer drops, a clip comes out, one of them does one of the other one's podcast, and we learn tidbits, more information. It's like a full-time job following this scandal. Thankfully, I don't have a full-time job right now, so I have all the time in the world to follow the scandal. It's been great entertainment for me. I do think this would be one of the opportunities where it would make sense for Bravo to still have their own podcast, because we would have had a consistent voice and a place for these people to go. Since that's gone, they're going on each other's podcasts. And I don't know, maybe that's Bravo's way of letting people monetize, their experience or their brand beyond Housewives or Vanderpump Rules or Summer House or whatever it may be, by letting them do these podcasts. Because I'm shocked that there's so many of them and that they're letting so much information come out beforehand. I would love to know like the vetting process, like if you have to send them to them first. Like I wonder if Bravo listened to the Howie interview. I mean, I know Andy Cohen said that he did, but if there was a way that they could have legally stopped them. I don't know why. I'm just kind of curious, because they're like not paid appearances. That was the other reason why I was fine to listen to Howie. I was like, Tom is not making a dime off of this Howie Mandel podcast. So I think we're fine. Sorry, I keep bringing that up. I feel like I've said the name Howie Mandel more times today than I have in my entire life, all 35 years of my life combined. I hope to never have to speak of him again after this whole situation is over. Getting to the end of the podcast, wrapping up some of my final thoughts, particularly about that last episode, because we'll talk about the reunions as they come on, or maybe we'll do it as one big thing. I don't know. We'll figure it out as time goes on. But the finale, I want to keep talking about that for just a second, because I think the most cringy scene in the whole thing was whenever Tom and Raquel actually were together. Oh, it was so awkward. And whenever she thought that he said, I love you, but he said, they love you, referencing his parents. Oh, how embarrassing. She was like, oh my God, he's doing it. He's telling me I love you on TV. Like, oh, you're so embarrassing. And I mean, they get loaded at the beginning of that scene, to where at the end, like, he's like gooming off into space, barely able to focus on her, because like walks in the door, shot of brown liquor and then chase it with a beer, and then they go and sit on the couch and have more brown liquor and more beers. Like, oh my god, have you guys soberly thought about this at all? It was so weird. And then watching Tom touch Raquel after, like, it's just so creepy to me. It's just so weird. We haven't seen him with anybody else in 9 years, and like, it's just the way they were touching. I don't know why. It's just like, okay, I guess you want to explode your life for this. Their conversation was so odd. And then for her to be like, well, I mean, how can I trust that you're not going to cheat on me? Like, well, duh, you can't, idiot. Why didn't you think about that before? This is why I say she needs to just stay wherever she is. I don't think that she is okay out and about, left to her own devices. And then let me go on this tangent really quick, because I don't think enough people are talking about it. The Vanderpump Pets. I'm very concerned about them. Where is Graham right now? I hope he's in a safe place and he's okay. This was another reason why I was side-eyeing Raquel, and how I knew, like, how is she going to come out as the hero? How does your dog have a gaping wound in its freaking neck and you don't notice it? And she's sitting there like trying to get the dog to eat, and like she just like puts some stuff in front of it and kind of like pushes it towards it, and the dog doesn't eat. Like, that to me, I would be in a full sweat, panic, let's go to the vet, like, oh my god, Google what's going on. And I mean, she's just so nonchalant about it. And you know what, I'm just gonna put it out here. These are my sinister pet theories, and I don't care. I'm putting it out here. I am in the camp that thinks that something happened to that dog whenever the girls' trip happened and Ariana had to leave her dog behind on medication, life-saving medication, and leaving a guy in charge who's busy texting another girl and sneaking around and trying to get her to come back to town. I just don't know if he administered everything that he should have when he should have. He didn't address that on Howie. That should have been the first thing he addressed. Okay, he didn't address that on the Howie Mandel podcast, and then he's yet to address, this has come out many times, this would be the first thing that I would make known no matter what. So the video that Ariana found is a screen recording of a FaceTime of Raquel and Sandoval. And at first she was gonna say, and I don't know, it's been, I think, like months at this point, weeks, I don't know how long it's been. This all started like March 1st, 3rd, somewhere around there. It's been a long time, but I just really remember at the beginning of it that they were going to go with the angle that he recorded her against her knowledge. Now, whether that's what happened, wasn't what happened, but that's been put in the universe, and he's not one time come out and said that. That's something I would vehemently deny, no matter what. That would have been Howie. Number one, let me say, first and foremost, I would never record someone without their consent. I think that's just crazy. He's yet to address that. We've yet to address that. And like the other thing with the dogs, how because I know that she brings Graham around other dogs and not just at the dog park or the doggy daycare that she was trying to blame. Easy to blame them, because she said in that episode about beach day, well, my dog was already over at Scandoval's house. See, like, why are you dropping your dog off at Sandoval's house with another dog? Like, that's to keep each other company. Like, that's not really a thing you need to do. Like, drop a dog off with another dog so they keep each other company. Like, that's, I still don't get that. But I know that those dogs be mixing up together, and that it's very strange for a dog owner to not notice a wound in their dog's neck and not to be concerned whenever it's not eating. Like, that's, let's hit the vet, 911 immediately, let's go. And she's just like, la la la. I don't know, just so much of the pet stuff with these Vanderpets, it's too much. Because you look at everybody else, like Lala, everybody else, like, they've got these great dogs and they're taking great care of them, and then random hole in the neck on the underdog. I just don't think she would have come out on top. I just don't think she would have come out on top. I'm sorry. That to me is weird. That was odd. Tom Sandoval and Raquel touching and hugging, but not kissing on camera because that's too much. Beneath the fake galaxy lights was just too much for my delicate psyche. That was a lot of episode. I mean, I knew the finale was going to hit hard because anytime, I mean, I don't know, anytime, have they done this? Like, when have they done this again? We're like, we got to pick up cameras and start filming again. I'm sure there's another scenario in reality TV where it's happened, but this is the most recent one that I can think of. I mean, I knew the finale was going to be good, but I wasn't prepared for all that. It was incredible, captivating television. Literally got chills the first time watching it around, listening to these people tell their stories. Oh my God, the Sheena Tom conversation at the end, she broke him on down. That very last conversation where if Ariana was in mental health crisis, that you call her mom, her brother, you call me, we help out. We'll pick up the pieces just like we're doing now. Like, I loved that. I really respected that. I thought that was really legit, and ending her friendship with him, loved that. Was totally 100% necessary and really sad to see. Oh, I don't know. Because I've always said in my last Vanderpump podcast, I was just laying into Sheena's husband. Poor guy. But I'm a Sheena fan. Like, I've always weirdly been a Sheena fan. But this season I was like, girl, you're on the wrong side. Like, why are you trying to set this girl up with Schwartz so bad? I was just so like mixed on her, but that conversation brought me back to Team Shishu, and I've been meaning to put this out here in the ether anyway, because I laid so hard into Brock last year. I was like, he's broke, stop asking for money, stop asking people to do stuff for free, it's weird, he likes to be on camera too much. Like, I was really, really tough on Brock last year, and I don't know, I don't feel bad about it. It's how I felt at the time. How I feel now, I feel less intense about him, and I will say that they had a beautiful wedding. Like, for all the shit I talked about, oh, he's so broke and this, whatever, shit, they worked that wedding on out. That was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Destination wedding. I thought that was really cool. Sucks that you asked that girl to be a bridesmaid and it turned out she was a cheater. Like, see, you're betting on the wrong horse. Should have stayed friends with Katie, who you've known for over a decade. I mean, this is just like the craziest season ever, to go from like Sheena's wedding where Raquel is a bridesmaid to where Sheena and Raquel are physically fighting, and now we've got a restraining order against Sheena. Like, I thought that was too far. Physical assault, not okay, but the restraining order was dropped. I don't know if there wasn't enough evidence, but it's like, girl, you're holding up the reunion. And if she had made it to where there wasn't going to be a reunion, I already hate that it's going to have to be like separated, her and Sheena. That sucks. But if there was going to like not be able to be a reunion, or she wasn't going to be able to be there or something like that, I would have been so annoyed. So I'm glad that all of that worked out. Sheena wasn't perfect this season, but I did like her wedding, and I did like that conversation in the finale with her and Tom. I wish she and Katie, I hope that they'll get along and they'll be friends, because that's what I need next season. Well, actually, I don't know what I need next season. Let me not say that. Let's wait for the reunion next week and see what happens. Because now we're to that point. The reunion is almost upon us, and we can keep breaking this down more from there. I know this is probably all over the place. If you do not watch Vanderpump Rules and you aren't really familiar with Scandoval, you're probably like, what is this bitch talking about? But if you know what's going on, I hope that you enjoyed my crazy deep dive, all my theories, all my sinister thoughts about what's going down with the Vanderpets. Like, y'all need to be watching your pets, watch their backs from the Vanderpump people. It's crazy times, and I appreciate you listening to this podcast episode and letting me rant and rave like a lunatic about Vanderpump Rules. I hope that you'll stick with me next week, and we will be watching some other reality shows. I have my first request, like I was telling you at the beginning, that you can now if you want to request and skip to the head of the line, like I have to watch something immediately, you can pay for that at www.thenashtag.com/tips. And if you just click on that buy me a coffee link, it'll take you to my page where you can buy me a coffee or pick whatever thing that you want to do. But I already have my first episode of something that I have to watch. I've been told I have to watch one episode of The Bear, which everybody's already watched. I'm late to the game, but I said I'd do it. So I took the money and I'm watching it. I'm going to watch that. We'll talk about The Bear next week. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode about all of the craziness that is Scandoval. I feel like I said so much, but then left out so many little things that I wanted to touch on. But, you know, maybe we'll get to it in one of the reunion podcast episodes. I'm floored at the audacity of those two people behaving that way, and just how all of this is unfolded, all of the podcast around it, so much content. And I'm just like, just sucking it up. Like, give me that media, give me those podcast episodes, give me those New York Times articles, get on the Today Show. I love it. I'm living for every Watch What Happens live episodes. Like, I'm obsessed. I am obsessed with Scandoval. It's a terrible thing to be obsessed with, but hey, it's 2023 and this is where we are and what we're doing and what we're watching. And it's been entertaining as hell. Yes. So thank you again for tuning in. You can check out this episode of the Nash Attack Podcast anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can now listen on YouTube. I'm one of those people who has an audio podcast on YouTube. I've never understood that, but I'm doing it now. You can check out my Instagram. It is the Nash Attack Podcast, all one word. Follow me there. I do some fun little edits and stuff now for each episode. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on Scandoval. Either slip into my DMs, leave me a comment on my Instagram post, leave me a comment on my website. Anything, please let me know your thoughts, because I'd love to hear from you about this. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you when I talk to you.